Well, we are so close to learning what jerseys the NFL 2020 draft class will suit up in. Now, we already know that this draft is going to look so much different than in years past, but still, we want to learn who the Vikings are going to be after for this year. And for that, I want to bring in Mike Max from WCCO in Minnesota. How's it going, Mike?
Good. How are you doing, Katie?
I'm doing well, working from home, and that sounds exactly like what team managers are going to be doing for the draft this year. I want to ask you, plain and simple, who do you think the Minnesota Vikings are going to be after?
Well, it's funny you say that because Rick Spielman, their general manager, just did his annual draft press conference from his home. And in the background, he had a screen, and he said he's been able through their IT department to manipulate it like he would in their draft room back at the facility that they can't access. The NFL is not allowing. But his point was there's a big pressure on the IT departments everywhere to make this draft work. It's not just about selecting the right person. It's being able to communicate that. The Minnesota Vikings have three needs going into this, Katie, and 2 first-round draft picks. The offensive line, which many times they've gone to the mid and late rounds to see if they can pluck and develop somebody there, but they do need some immediate help. Cornerback, because they lost so many in the offseason, and wide receiver. Stephon Diggs was traded to Buffalo. That gave them some ample draft picks for you to work with. They've got Adam Thielen, a Pro Bowler on one side, Kyle Rudolph, a good tight end. And the other side is kind of open. Johnston could play there if they don't draft anybody that beats him out. But they believe that it's so deep at wide receiver that if they don't get someone in the first round, they could get someone in the second round. They've even got Tyler Johnston from up here at the University of Minnesota, who was outstanding. Had over about 300 yards of receiving against Auburn in a bowl game. And he's been one of those people that if they go to the second round, they could get. But it'll be cornerback, offensive line, and wide receiver will be the emphasis early for them.
Mike, I want to ask you, too, obviously the current situation has had a dramatic impact on the draft itself. Do you see it having an impact on the NFL season?
I do, and from a couple of standpoints. One is that these players, whoever they are, they haven't been vetted the same way they've been in the past. They have to do it through FaceTime, not as many pro days, not as many face-to-face meetings. Number 2, they won't have the off-season workouts. And Katie, as you know, I mean, this has become about a 9-month-a-year sport. So they always have OTAs and mini camps and access to the facility that they won't have this year. No matter what happens in the draft, they won't have that same access. Now, that being said, Kirk Cousins, the Vikings quarterback, I was talking to about that, and he says, well, in 2011, they shut us out, so we had no offseason. Until we got to training camp, everybody was on their own, just like now. And he says, look at early in the season. Cam Newton was outstanding for Carolina. Set a rookie record the first week. There were a couple of just showdowns where quarterbacks were unbelievable in the first few weeks. His point being that a lot of guys don't need as many reps as you might think. And with these virtual training camps that they're going to set up or virtual off-season workouts, at least the mental side of it, they'll be able to go over with. And the players they bring in are familiar with playbooks. They'll be able to do a lot of that groundwork and the academic work without the physical work. And is that ideal? No. But I do think in this day and age, there's a big benefit to the technology that we have, Zoom and everything else, the way we talk to each other, that will shorten that, or it will, the curve won't be as long as it's been in the past for these guys to get up to speed.
That is really interesting comparison of this year to 2011. Mike, thank you so much for speaking with me today. The 2020 NFL Draft starts this Thursday, April 23rd. For WCCO, I'm Katie Johnston.